welcome to No Broken Legs. I am Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone on this Thursday afternoon is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you today?
Man, I'm great, brother. We're getting ready to talk some football with some awesome games this week. I am ready to get into this.
All right, in our first game, we always start with our hometown Cleveland Browns. They're coming off a 10-point victory loss. I don't know what to call it. The fan base is freaking out, Jimmy. But the Browns are home. They are playing the Chicago Bears. A couple of notes on this game. Justin Fields will be getting his first start. Andy Dalton's out with, I believe, a knee injury.
Yeah, it was me.
All right, Jarvis Landry was put on IR with a knee injury. He's going to be out at least 3 weeks. And there's a lot of chatter that we may finally see Odell Beckham Jr. in this game. We'll get to all of that here in a second. But first, the Cleveland Browns are 7-point favorites. The over-under is 45.5 now. It was 46. That's dropped a half point since I checked yesterday. And the money line for the Browns is minus 305. The Bears is plus 235. And Jimmy, there's a pretty big split here on the money line. 41% of the bets on the Bears. That's kind of concerning for Browns fans.
I'm not quite sure why. That's kind of weird to me. I'm going to take the Bears at +7. I think they can probably hold this to like a field goal. They do have a good defense. I do think Justin Fields will probably move the ball some. But I think this is going to feel a lot like the second half of the Texans game. I don't think the Bears are ever really going to get close. And this definitely has the makings to be the get right, shut up game for the defense. We have one corner that should be able to handle Robinson. So I don't really know where Fields is going to go with the football if he has time to throw. But this is definitely a game that the fan base will hopefully be able to rally around to be like, okay, yeah, the defense is good, is as advertised. I think offensively, especially if Odell plays, the offense should not have a problem. Where you attack the Bears is on the corners. That's where they're weakest. With Jarvis and Odell out, I don't quite know how you do that. So I think at times it may look ugly. I think this is a big-time Nick Chubb game. You've been calling for it. I think this will be the 25-carry Nick Chubb game.
Yeah.
But I think the Browns easily move to 2-1. I don't think there's going to be a problem here. I don't understand the money line bets on the Bears. I really don't get it. But I think Kevin Stefanski is going to have a good game plan. I think this is, like I said, I think this is the chance for the defense to really show up and show out. The young secondary pieces, they popped at times last week. They'll have times to pop again this week. I'm not worried really about this game, but I do think the Bears can keep it within 7, even with Fields. So I am going to take the Bears to cover, but I love the Browns to win the game.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. I think the Bears keep it close. I think that defense can really give problems to the Browns, especially because the offensive line's dinged up. You already mentioned the missing pieces. And they don't look like they're in rhythm, and I think they got into rhythm with all of their guys, and they just don't have their guys.
Yeah.
But on top of that, as you mentioned, even with the offensive line dinged up, they're just mauling people on the ground. They're just mauling people on the ground. And I see that continuing in this game. I think that's how they win today, or I think that's how they win on Sunday. It's going to be close. And what I really want to see is I want to see the defense put some pressure on Fields.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of the front four. I want to see some disguised coverages.
Yep.
I want to see some press coverage. I don't want to see whatever the hell defense they were playing last week was the same defense they were playing 2 weeks ago with Kansas City. I just don't understand why you're not pressing Houston's receivers, and they should be pressing Chicago's receivers.
Yep, I agree. What do you think about the under here? Do you like the under?
Man, it's really tempting to take the under, but if they give Nick Chubb 25 carries, do the Browns still score 30 points again?
Possibly.
They've posted 30 in both of their games.
Yeah.
And all we've done is talked about how beat up they are and how dumb their turnovers have been. So if they come out and play a turnover-free football game, are they going to win 35-10?
Yeah, and then that's a push. All right, so I'm going to stay away from the over-under for now because you convinced me.
I hope I don't damn you on that bet. come out and it's just fireworks because the Browns can't stop anybody. Just 30-25 or something.
Let it not be that, please, because I can't handle this fan base. If we get another 10-point victory, but Justin Fields throws 2 touchdowns, it's going to be the world is ending, man.
I think he's going to have moments where he looks really good, but I think he'll also have moments where he looks like he did against Cincinnati last week, where he's just throwing awful passes and looks kind of lost.
Yeah, I think this would be a great time. I think this would be a great game defensively, schematically. I think this would be a great time to put Clowney on the same side as Miles, stand him up, and let them try to figure out who's coming and who's dropping. And I also wanted to tell you, we're not the only football analysts noticing it. I listened a couple different podcasts this week are very curious about, with Jarvis out, may we actually get to see Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt on the field at the same time?
Yeah, they're probably going to have to if they're both out, at least here and there for big plays, just to get talent on the field. And then they still need to find at least five plays for Fenton.
Yeah. He earned it last week.
Oh, yeah, he looked fantastic last week. So overall, anything specific that you're worried about that the Bears can do that the Browns might not have an answer for?
I'm not really worried about the Bears offensively because I believe we have a couple different guys that can cover Robinson. I don't think Justin Fields will be able to overpower us with guys like Darnell Mooney. I am worried about the offensive line. I mean, the Bears are really good up front, and they have 2 great linebackers. So I am a little bit worried about the Bears just deciding to attack defensively, and our offensive line being banged up to not handle it. I imagine you'll probably see a lot of 2 tight ends on the field just to help out in chipping and pass protection. But that worries me. I mean, the Bears have linebackers that can turn games. So I am concerned there. But I do think defensively, I think we'll be okay. But for the Bears, I think that's the one place to worry. Like, you can't let Roquan Smith get 2 sacks and a forced fumble, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that really worries me, is that the Browns have been careless with the football the last 2 weeks, and the Bears just, as a franchise, it seems to be something they're always good at, is forcing turnovers, not just the current unit, but I mean, we were talking about them doing that when we were in college.
Yep, absolutely.
So our next matchup is the first AFC North matchup of the season. The Pittsburgh Steelers are hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Jimmy, Pittsburgh is only getting the 3 points that a home team normally gets. It boggles the mind. The over-under on this game is 44. The Steelers' money line is minus 175. The Bengals' money line is plus 140. And this is almost a 50-50 split on the money line, Jimmy. Who do you like in this game?
Yeah, if you listen to us the last couple weeks, we've given you some great money line bets that have hit, and I believe this is another one. I'm taking the Bengals at +3 because I think they went out right, and clearly I'm taking the money line. Is it still plus 146, you said?
Plus 140.
Came down. Yeah, it's came down a little bit. The Steelers are really banged up on defense. Ben Roethlisberger doesn't look right. Something we comment about here, you don't hear a lot of other places. If you don't know, pretty much every week after a game, Ben Roethlisberger likes to go on the radio and explain to everybody what's not his fault. He's already throwing the new offensive coordinator under the bus. Deontay Johnson got hurt at the end of the week last week in a meaningless play. I think the Steelers are having some issues internally and externally. I think the Bengals are good enough to win this game. I really do. So I'm taking the Bengals, especially if the guys that are day-to-day, if a couple of them don't play, I don't know where Pittsburgh will get pressure on Joe Burrow. And when Burrow hasn't been pressured, he's still looked pretty good.
Another one that we agree on. I think that Cincinnati defense is pretty okay. The thing that they're going to have to do with Pittsburgh is limit big plays, because that's the only way they can move the ball right now. They cannot sustain drives. When they score, it's either off of a big play or immediately following a big play. Yeah. And that Cincinnati offense is good. Joe Burrow's got weapons around him. Jamar Chase has touchdowns in both of his first 2 games. This looks like a close game. I'm just shocked by when I saw that Pittsburgh was favored by 3, I was really shocked. One, because Pittsburgh was favored. I just don't see how Pittsburgh, with all their injuries on defense, can hold Cincinnati to few enough points that the Pittsburgh offense can beat them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not going to trust the Pittsburgh offense until they show us something. We talked a lot in our AFC North talks before the season started. Like, Najee Harris may have the talent to be a superstar in this league. This is the worst offensive line Najee Harris has ran behind in the last few years. He's having trouble getting to the second level because the holes aren't there. Everything Ben's thrown is going high. He doesn't look right. When he's made throws, it's been because Claypool and Johnson have made great catches. Like, Pittsburgh does not look good, and a lot of their key pieces are dinged up. I just don't see how Pittsburgh wins this game. I don't see it. They haven't looked good. I just don't understand. I'm not really sure why it hits Cincinnati +3, to be honest with you. Like, I don't get it. I think, I do believe Mike Tomlin is an okay coach. I don't think you can coach through the problems they're having right now. Like, you can't coach up the 30th worst offensive line to be in the top 10 offensive line, which is what they need to run the offense the way they want.
Yeah, I'm just really excited about the possibility of Monday morning Pittsburgh being 1-2 and the rest of the teams in the division being 2-1, because the Baltimore Ravens are playing the Detroit Lions in Detroit. Baltimore are 7.5-point road favorites. The over-under on this is 49.5. The money line is -435 for the Ravens. It is +325 for the Lions. Jimmy, I have a mantra that I've had for 2 years, and it's Baltimore beats bad teams. I'm picking Baltimore and making it a lock. Detroit is a bad team.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think there may be 30 other teams in the NFL that if the Ravens were playing this week, this line would be much different because they would look at it as a letdown trap game. But the Lions aren't even good enough to get that trap game credit. Like, I agree with you. I like the Ravens here. We found out, no surprise to us, we found out same old Jared Goff. He can look great for a quarter or a half, but when you get pressure on him, make the game tight, he just makes mistakes. He doesn't process properly. And then we saw Aaron Jones just absolutely torch the Lions. So I imagine you have another huge game from Lamar and whoever they feel like using at running back. So this is a lock for me as well. I think the Ravens win this game easily. I'll probably take the under because I don't think they're going to have to score 30 points to win this game. But I think the Ravens will. I think the Lions are going to fight. They're feisty, but they just don't have the pieces. They just don't have the pieces to be in a game with the Ravens.
No, they're biting ankles and scratching faces or whatever the hell it was that Campbell said they should do.
Yeah.
I like what I saw out of Baltimore. Obviously, they get the win against Kansas City. What I don't like about that win is they are still tremendously reliant on Lamar Jackson running the football.
Yeah, I mean...
And, we've seen that the last 2 off seasons. That is not a recipe for postseason success.
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs just don't have any run defense. It makes you really wish the Browns would have just kept pounding the rock against the Chiefs also. But, kudos to the Ravens for being able to be one-dimensional and still look dynamic at the same time. It's really weird. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. So kudos to the Ravens. But, yeah, they'll pull this one off pretty easily.
And you just mentioned the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a big matchup against their in-division rival, the LA Chargers, the up-and-comers. We'll get to Vegas here in a minute. Jimmy, this is the team that people thought would really challenge Kansas City over the offseason. Right now, Kansas City at home are 6.5-point favorites. The spread the over-under is 55.5. The money line for the Chiefs is -295, and the Chargers are +225. Jimmy, how do you think this game shakes out?
I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I think it's probably going to look easier than it actually is. I'm taking the Chargers. I do think the Chargers can keep it to 6 points. So I'm taking the Chargers at 6.5. The Chargers are going to have to run the football in this game if they want to stay close. Right? Like, the Chiefs want you to throw the football. Their best players play best against the pass. They want you to throw the football. I know the Chargers want Justin Herbert to just sling it all over the place, but they're going to have to use Eckler more. They're going to have to run the ball. I don't think they win this one. I think they can keep it close. Um, but, the Chiefs, they clearly have a deficiency against the run. I don't think the Chargers will be able to have the personnel to attack it enough to beat them, but I do think they'll keep it close. But I do think the Chiefs will still move to 2-1 and get a bounce back win.
I'm with you. I'm taking the Chargers and the points. I think their offense is really good, and I think that Chiefs defense isn't.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. And there's also, at some point, there has to be a reckoning for the lack of a running game in Kansas City, because they really need Mahomes to be great every week. And you can be great every week, but it's going to take its toll later in the season. And you don't want to see him wasting great efforts on games in week 3 already. But that's something that I'll be looking at. How does that Kansas City offense look? Just, can they run the ball? Because if they can't figure out how to run the ball and teams can run on them, that just bodes very well for somebody taking them down in the AFC playoffs.
Yeah, no, I agree. They got to figure something out. I mean, I fully believe if Edwards-Helaire doesn't fumble, that they go down and they win that football game. That being said, I don't know why you thought in your playbook running Edwards-Helaire up the middle in that spot was the right play. He hadn't touched the ball in like a quarter and a half. It was a tough spot to put him in, but I agree. We've been banging the drum. One-dimensional teams tend to lose against good football teams, and they've become very one-dimensional. Patrick Mahomes is great, but he's going to need some help in the run game at some point.
Speaking of one-dimensional offenses, we get to the Buffalo Bills, who are taking on the Washington Armada. Buffalo is home for this game. They got a nice bounce-back win last week against Miami. The offense looked right. They are favored by 8.5 points. The over-under is 45.5. And the money lines, the Bills are at minus 385, and the Armada are at plus 295. Jimmy, all of these numbers say that nobody believes in Washington. Do you believe in Washington?
I love the Armada. I'm taking them here at 8.5. I think they can hold it to a touchdown. I still like both of these teams. It was great to see some balance from the Bills last week, but that may have just been because they got out to such a big lead. We happened to notice, they were still running Josh Allen in the fourth quarter up 35-0. What you doing, cuz?
Madness.
I don't understand it. Heineke has looked okay. Washington does need to use Antonio Gibson a little more. But I think for the Armada, this is a big spot because this has to be a game for that defense to show that they are not overrated and they are as good as advertised, because they haven't popped on the screen like everyone thought they would. But I am taking them here at plus 8.5.
We agree again. And one of the things that I'm looking at as far as trends for the season, dogs have done really well early in the year. That trend tends to fade out as the season goes on, but we're not quite to the point where that happens. Usually that happens around, weeks 4 through 6 is when that tends to flip. But I kind of like Washington's fight right now. I think they're fighting, and I think they can do things to slow down this Buffalo offense, and I don't think Heineke's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
Our next matchup is the Las Vegas Raiders, one of the 2-0 teams in the AFC that nobody saw coming. They are playing the 1-1 Miami Dolphins, who will have your boy Jimmy. He's going to start because Tua's hurt. Jacoby Brissett, you called for it earlier in the season, and now we'll get to see what it looks like. He's going to start out as a 3.5-point underdog to the Raiders in Las Vegas. The over-under on this is 45.5. The money line for the Raiders is minus 210. The Dolphins' money line is plus 175. Nobody has made a bet on that, Jimmy. What is this the week we finally have to admit the Raiders are good?
No, I refuse to believe the Raiders are this good, so I'm I'm taking the Dolphins at plus 3.5 and the money line at plus 175. The Raiders have looked great. They finally got Derek Carr to push the ball down the field. They're playing awesome, and I have zero trust in it. This feels like a trap game of all trap games. I think the Dolphins roster is better than they've played. Even in the win, they didn't look great. I think Jacoby Brissett will move the ball better than Tua does. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game outright, but I'll definitely take them at 3.5 because it's certainly not going to be more than a field goal game, I don't believe. So, yeah, I like the Dolphins and the money line here.
I'm taking the Raiders for the same reason I took the Saints last week, and I'm tired of picking against them and being wrong. So I'm just going to pick them, and we'll see what happens. I think this is a total stay away. I don't know what to expect from Miami. I don't know what to expect from the Raiders. We saw this last year. We saw Carr throw the ball downfield, and they looked like their offense couldn't be stopped. And then 5 weeks into the season or whatever it was, he just stopped doing it.
Yep.
When is that going to happen? I don't know. I'll ride the Raiders for right now, but I do not trust them at any moment to, if we end up talking about this on Monday as a game where the Raiders got a little full of themselves and maybe made a mistake or two, that just sounds exactly like what's going to happen.
Yep, I agree.
But I'm tired of being wrong about the Raiders, so if I'm going to be wrong about them, they better fucking lose. The next matchup we have is a AFC South showdown. This is between the Tennessee Titans, who are home. They are hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Carson Wentz is still listed as out for this game. If he does try to play, I can't imagine how good he'll be coming off of 2 ankle injuries. So the Tennessee Titans are currently 5.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 48, and the money line is minus 250 for the Titans. The Colts sit at plus 205. Jimmy, we've been bashing the Colts all year. Do we continue bashing the Colts here?
I don't even think it's bashing any now that Jacob Eason is running out there with the ones. The Colts stink. The Titans I don't think are that good, but they don't stink as much as the Colts. Last week, the Titans finally listened to the No Broken Legs podcast, and they realized they didn't need Julio Jones. They just needed to give the fucking ball to Derrick Henry.
So it's a novel plan.
Even when trailing, that's your path to success. I don't think they'll trail at all in this one. This is a lock for me, Titans minus 5.5.
I made it a lock too. I love it. So far, we've only had one disagreement, and it was over the Raiders.
Yeah, stupid Raiders.
All right, our next matchup is, it's an NFC headliner, and it's probably the headliner of the week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are traveling across the country to take on your LA Rams, Jimmy. The Buccaneers are 1.5-point favorites. The over-under on this is 55.5. The money line for the Buccaneers is minus 122, and for the Rams, it is plus 104.
For me, man, I've been looking at this game for days. I cannot wait to watch it. I think the Rams are going to win this game outright, so I'm taking the Rams and their money line. I can't wait to watch this game, dude. I think, even including Thanksgiving games, people have probably not watched a Matt Stafford game as intently as they're going to watch this one. And I believe in the preview of the NFC Championship game, he's going to come up big. I figure Jalen Ramsey's going to take away one wide receiver. If they can just slow down Gronk a little bit, my Rams are going to be okay.
I'm actually taking the Rams and making it a lock. I think their defense looks better right now. Just that Tampa defense is dealing with injuries. They look like people can move the ball on them, and it'll be a question of can the Rams get some big plays here and there. I think they do in this matchup, but I also think that the Rams have something to prove here, and Tampa Bay kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
But I'm fascinated by this game. That Tampa Bay offense is just rolling, Jimmy.
They really are, but this is also, to me, this is a game that I don't know if Tom Brady, I don't know how much he's going to care about this game. I'm not sure. I hope he doesn't care about it that much. That would make it easier for the Rams. But then again, he may want to come out and say, why is everybody talking about Matt Stafford? Have they not watched what I've done this year, which has been really impressive? So, but I really can't wait for this game. probably maybe even more so than the Browns game, I am excited for this game because it's going to be two good coaches who are usually pretty aggressive. They're probably both going to be really aggressive in this game. I think you're going to see a ton of shots downfield. It's going to be like a heavyweight title fight. Who can take one and then throw another one? I think it's going to be a great football game.
Yeah, and something to watch out for is Tampa Bay has the Rams this week, and then they have San Francisco, next week or the week after, I think. Yeah. After that, they don't have much of a difficult schedule. So Tampa Bay, if they can get through those two challenges against the NFC West, could be looking at a perfect season. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
We just mentioned San Francisco. They're going to be home and hosting the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. The spread right now, the 49ers are favored by 3.5. The over-under sits at 50. The money line on the Niners is minus 175. The money line on the Packers is plus 150. Jimmy, there is a ton of money on the money line for the Packers. Vegas likes the Packers. I'm actually taking the Packers here. Do you like the Packers?
Yeah, they can have another $100 from me because I love the money line bet. I love the Packers here. San Francisco is just so beat up on the offensive side of the ball. I told you I wasn't going to pick Green Bay until after the Lions game where they showed they were right. And boy, did they look right using Aaron Jones like that. This is going to be the biggest game of San Francisco's early season. I mean, they still don't know who's playing running back. Garoppolo's not really throwing the ball down the field. Green Bay has a cover corner who can probably handle Deebo Samuel. So I just don't see how San Francisco scores enough points to beat Green Bay because so far this season, San Francisco's defense has not looked as great as we thought it might. Now, it's looked good, but not where we thought it could look. And like we talked about before the season started, this has to be a circle on the schedule game for Aaron Rodgers. He's going to want to show everybody in San Francisco once again what they've missed out on. So I think Rodgers will play great, and I think the Packers win this game outright.
I don't know if the Packers win it outright, but I do like them to keep this game close. This feels like a field goal game, and I don't know how San Francisco gets the extra half point.
Yeah,
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Speaking of things that don't make a whole lot of sense to me, Jimmy, the Minnesota Vikings, they are home dogs taking on the Seattle Seahawks. The spread is 1.5 in favor of Seattle. The over-under sits at 55.5. The money lines, the Seahawks are minus 125. The Vikings are plus 105. Jimmy, the Vikings are 0-2. Do they manage to sneak a win here as Seattle continues their sort of Midwest tour?
You know, I know Minnesota took kind of a bad beat in week 1 and Dalvin Cook a little beat up in week 2, but you know, the only thing Seattle's done wrong this year is not be able to stop Derrick Henry when he really got rolling, which is something a lot of teams have done. I don't understand why this line isn't more. I'm going to take Seattle. I don't get it. After Seattle wins this game, do you think Zimmer, how many more games has he got? Like if he goes 0-5, is it over?
Wow. So I have a theory about Mike Zimmer that I would like to share with you, Jimmy.
Let's do it.
In about 3 weeks, when Minnesota's 1-4, everybody in Cleveland is going to start saying fire Joe Woods and hire Mike Zimmer.
Wow.
I think because right now everybody wants to fire Joe Woods, but if you ask him who should he be replaced with, there's no answer because there is no answer. The only answer is you're either bringing somebody from outside the organization, which you're not going to do in the middle of the season, especially when, like, who are you bringing in that's not already with a team?
Yeah.
Or you're promoting from within his defensive room, which means they're going to be relatively the same, and you're not really getting any new ideas in there. So I think that's where this is going to wind up heading. Everybody's going to be petitioning for Mike Zimmer to be the Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator. Because it's clearly it ain't working out in Minnesota anymore, man.
No, but I mean I like Joe Woods, but I'll take Mike Zimmer as my defensive coordinator too. It is weird. Like I don't understand. Like Zimmer sometimes he just does not make the right decision. Last week, man, they were moving the ball at will at the end of that game and just decided to settle for a field goal. And Like, I'm fine if you want to kick a field goal, but you were moving the ball easily. Get as close as you can. Maybe you find a way into the end zone and just win it that way. Like, you didn't have to play for the field goal where you were. They've got so many weapons. I just feel like they should be a much more aggressive offense than they are. And you would think by now Zimmer would stop playing for field goals. It surprises me he even still has a kicker on the roster with the way he's been snake bitten by missed field goals. Like, that was really weird at the end of the game last week. So, but I don't think they have a chance against the Seahawks. I think it may be time for a changing of the guard there in Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree. Our next matchup is the Arizona Cardinals are traveling to Jacksonville, Jimmy. The Jaguars are 7.5-point dogs at home. The over-under is 51.5. The money line is minus 360 on Arizona, plus 275 on Jacksonville. I'm making this a lock that Arizona wins this game because Jacksonville's horrible, Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to it. I do think this line is a little intriguing. I think clearly Vegas is hoping to get some trap game bets here. But much like Detroit, I don't think Jacksonville's good enough to trap anybody. I'm not sure if Jacksonville's going to win a game this year. I know Arizona's feeling good about themselves. I don't think there's a lot of sustainability to Kyler Murray continuing to just run around and throw footballs all over the field and them go for positive plays. Like, I think at some point it's going to bite them, but it certainly won't be this week. This is a lock for me also with Arizona over Jacksonville.
Yeah, we saw that last year where they fell off after his shoulder injury, but that's not a problem here. Jacksonville got beat by 16-10 already this season, and Arizona's better than Houston and Denver, offensively at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, our next game, the New England Patriots are home. They are hosting the New Orleans Saints. It is a 2.5-point spread in favor of the Patriots. The over-under sits at 41.5. The money line is minus 150 on the Patriots, plus 130 on the Saints. Jimmy, I give up with both of these teams. I don't know what the hell to do with it. So I think this is a stay away. I'll take New England because I don't trust. If you're asking me who I trust between the Patriots and the Saints, I trust Belichick more than I trust Jameis.
Yeah, this is a lock for me with the Patriots at minus 2.5.
Wow.
I know they're at least a field goal better than the Saints. And I also love the under here. I don't think this will be a high-scoring game. I think Mac Jones will stay efficient, and Jameis will continue to look confused. The Saints really need Michael Thomas to get healthy or whatever's going on there. They really need Michael Thomas on the field to take a little pressure off of Jameis and Kamara. I mean, that was one of Kamara's worst games as a pro last week, and you're playing a defense Carolina's defense is really good, so maybe not better than Carolina, but on par with Carolina. And I just think the Patriots are going to handle this game pretty easily. And they're going to make it a lot harder than Buffalo thought it was going to be for them to win the AFC East.
I do not like what I'm seeing from the Patriots offense. I know Mac Jones has been efficient, but he's not throwing the ball farther than 10 yards down the field. That's just not a sustainable way to win in the NFL.
You may be right, but I think it can beat the Saints this week.
Well, I think it's going to beat the Saints this week too, but that has more to do with Jameis than Mac Jones. So my final lock of the week, Jimmy, is the Denver Broncos are home. They are taking on the hapless New York Jets. The spread is 10.5. They could probably make this 20, and I wouldn't care. The over-under is 41. The Broncos are minus 650 on the money line. The Jets are plus 450. Do you agree with me that Denver's going to roll this week?
I can't believe I believe that the Broncos are going to beat somebody by 11 points. like this is an offense not meant to score a lot of points to just win games. And I saw this line and I'm like, that's not enough to keep me away. Zach Wilson looked horrible last week, and the Broncos' defense is better than the defense they played last week. Teddy Bridgewater looks really good. They've got a nice running back committee with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. I don't see how the Broncos don't win this game by 2 touchdowns. If the line was 14.5, I might take the Jets. But at 10.5, I feel fine with the Broncos.
All right, moving on. We have 3 games left. The next game is the Carolina Panthers are traveling to Houston, where they will be 8-point favorites. That game is tonight. The over-under on it sits at 43. The money line on this is the Texans are plus 320. The Panthers are minus 400. Is Sam Darnold going to go 3-0 to start this season, Jimmy?
Man, I really want to throw a little bit of money at that Texans money line just in case he's not, but I am taking Carolina. It's still at 8 points, right?
Yeah, 8 points.
Yeah. Sam Darnold has looked good. We talked about it. Kudos to the offensive game plan. Sam, get in a 3 or 4 step drop, find DJ Moore or find Christian McCaffrey and get the ball out of your hand. I think the offense looks good. I will say Houston is playing hard. Typically, home teams play better on Thursday nights. If Tyrod was playing, it may be a totally different thing, but Carolina's defense looks like a top 5 unit. They've got young guys. I thought maybe they were still a year away, but they're gelling a lot quicker than a lot of other defenses are. And, man, I think they're going to make it hell for this poor rookie quarterback. So, yeah, Sam Darnold's about to be 3-0, cementing once again that Adam Gase may be the worst coaching hire in the history of the league, or at least second to Freddie Outhouse, like right there. But, yeah, I mean, Carolina, we talked a lot before the season that this was going to be kind of a show-me season for the Carolina coaching staff. So far, it looks good. The schedule has been favorable early on, but they're winning games they should win. I think they moved to 3-0.
I don't know if Houston wins this game. I'm going to take Houston in the points because when in doubt, take the points. And I just can't, like, my soul will not let me say I'm taking Sam Darnold plus 8. Like, I can't do that because I have eyes. And I've seen him play.
Yeah, no, I get it. But it's not the same quarterback we saw play in New York, though. But it is, so that makes it really weird. Like,
they haven't. Carolina hasn't played anybody good yet.
No, they haven't. But he still looked better than he ever looked.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It's hard to go, give me Sam Darnold minus 8. Like, that is tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to say.
Our next game is the Monday night affair between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas is home for this one. They are also 4-point favorites. The over-under on this is 52. And the money line, the money line for the Cowboys is minus 195. And for the Eagles, it is plus 160. Jimmy, this division stinks. I feel like whoever wins this game is going to win the division. Is that crazy?
I'm going to say it's crazy because I still like the Armada, but you may be onto something. I think the Eagles are going to hold it to a field goal. The line's still 3.5, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the Eagles at plus 3.5 because I think Dallas is a little bit of a mess. Like, I don't think their defense is as good as they thought it was. They thought it would be improved. I don't think it's been that improved. And offensively, when you're trying to figure out if Zeke or Tony Pollard is the running back that should be in the game, I think that speaks to other things. Their O-line is getting healthy and looking good, but I still just don't trust Mike McCarthy, just plain and simple. Like, I just don't, even against the team you should beat. I think the Eagles will find a way to keep it to a field goal. But I do agree with you. Like, if the Eagles would happen to win this game, I would say they would probably go on to win the division.
I'm taking Dallas. I just still don't trust Jalen Hurts. I think this is a stay-away game. It's a Monday night game. Philly-Dallas is always weird things happen. So I think this is a stay-away.
Yeah.
Our final game, Jimmy, features the New York Giants, who are home and 3-point favorites against the Atlanta Falcons. The over-under is 48.5. The money lines, the action split on the money lines. The Giants are minus 155. The Falcons are plus 135. Jimmy, which of these teams is worse?
The Atlanta Falcons. I'm gonna stick with my preseason bias. I didn't think the Falcons were gonna be any good. I didn't think they'd look this bad, but I thought they were gonna look bad. I knew their new hired head coach, he didn't have the offensive pieces to run the offense that he ran in Tennessee, and he was going to try to do it anyway. And now he's trying to turn Cordero Patterson into Derrick Henry, which just looks wild. So I'm taking your preseason pick to win the NFC East. I'm taking the Giants. Danny Dimes has actually looked really good. Like, I still think Washington's defense is pretty good, and he looked really good against Washington. Saquon needs to play better in this game. Like, if he's healthy, he needs to hit holes, he needs to make cuts. So the Giants do need Saquon to step up, but I think the Giants will win this game pretty easily.
I'm taking the Falcons. The Giants don't deserve to be favored against anybody. But the Falcons don't deserve to be favored by anybody. So I guess we'll just deal with it. I'll take the 3 points. This game, my goal is to watch none of this game.
Oh, I'm watching every snap, bro. Second featured game in my house this week, dude. No, but it really feels like this line should have been like 0.5 or something. Like, neither of these teams are a field goal.
It's a pick 'em.
Yeah, neither of these teams are a field goal better than anybody. Like, Atlanta just, but it's still weird is if Atlanta came out and won this game by 4 touchdowns, I would be surprised because they have so many pieces on offense. They've just looked so bad.
Yes, they've just looked awful. Poor Pitts.
He didn't deserve this.
He's just looking around like, I'm good. Can somebody throw me the ball, please?
Like, oh, he's down again. I was open.
Any final weeks for week 3, Jimmy?
No, like I said, I'm really looking forward. I think the Rams-Buccaneers game is going to lead us to a lot of Monday morning talk of either Matt Stafford is real and Detroit was holding him back, or Tom Brady just can't be stopped and the Buccaneers are going undefeated. Like, I think that's what's going to lead there. But I'm really excited for the Browns game. It's something we talked about. This is the kind of game for years where, the Browns have a better overall roster than the Bears. But due to coaching and other things, these are the kind of games that over the past, 2 decades, the Browns would find a way to lose. I don't think they lose this game. I think it could be ugly at times. I really do. Like I said, I think this is the Nick Chubb game. If Odell comes back, I'm sure they'll put a couple packages in for him. But I think this game, the ball's going to stay on the ground. I think they're not going to try to expose Baker against that Bears pass rush. I think they're going to win ugly, and that's what I want to see. Like, I want to see the Cleveland Browns win an ugly football game instead of always coming out on the wrong side of it. And hopefully, though, Miles and Clowney, but I agree with you, there needs to be more blitz packages, confuse Justin Fields, make it harder for the rookie, and the Browns move to 2-1 and a 3-way tie atop the AFC East or AFC North.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm still gathering data. It's week 3. I still sticking to most of my preseason stuff, except in a few cases where teams have really hurt my feelings and I don't want to talk about them. But there's some things that we've seen, and really fascinated by the Rams-Tampa Bay game, fascinated by the San Francisco-Green Bay game.
Yeah.
I want to see what Seattle looks like against Minnesota because they should win that game easy. And what do the Raiders do? Do the Raiders keep looking good? Because if they keep looking good, we're going to have to acknowledge them eventually, Jimmy.
Well, but I do think the Seahawks-Vikings game, I think that's a sneaky game too because the Seahawks really can't afford to lose ground in the division because Arizona should easily move to 3-0. So Seahawks got to get a victory. Like I said, there's a lot of good games this week, man. I'm so happy we're in week 3, and I agree with you. We're still collecting data, and we're starting to find out now, what things happened in week 1 that were more about a team being good versus a team being bad. So, we're starting to get some of that, and we'll get some more of that this week. I do think the Armada versus the Bills could be a sneaky good football game. So, yeah, a lot of good games this week. Can't wait to get to see them.
Yeah, and hopefully we get to see Odell Beckham Jr. on the field for the Browns. That would be a welcome sight.
It would be a big help because through 2 weeks, the Bears corners have not been able to cover anybody. So, I know we've fought with a lot of Browns fans about how good Hollywood Higgins is, but this would be a game without Odell for Higgins and my boy Donovan Peoples-Jones to splash a couple times because they'll have opportunities. They'll be able to get open against these corners. Whether or not they're given the opportunity, we'll have to see.
Alrighty. Well, that wraps up our Week 3 picks. Jimmy, thank you for joining me.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
Alrighty, and thank you for listening. For Jimmy Champ, I am Evan Belfiore, and we are No Broken Legs.